was the summer of 2014, and for my son's bar mitzvah present, just like many Jewish parents, we wanted him to bond with the Holy Land. Oh, it worked perhaps too well. My husband had stayed back at the hotel, and our friends, my son and I, had just stopped in a pharmacy.
Run to the bomb shelter, sweetie, please hurry. I didn't hear the sirens at first, but the Israelis did. They're used to hearing these things. We ran to the back of the storeroom. It was a 12-foot by 24-foot windowless bomb shelter. My heart's pounding. Boom, boom. I hear it and feel the percussion of the exploding bombs. I'm trying not to get sick. I look at my 13-year-old son and I think I'll never forgive myself if something happens to him.
That's an excerpt from a speech I gave to the Orange County Jewish Bar Association. It was the first, but not the last time we had to run to a bomb shelter. Our adventure and my transformation is also the subject of my book, Blasted from Complacency, A Journey from Terror to Transformation in Israel. There is no chapter in a parenting book on what to do when a war starts and you're on a family vacation. Think touring extraordinary and sacred sites mixed with cowering in bomb shelters. I'm still trying to get over the Jewish guilt of taking my son to war for his bar mitzvah present. The impact of being human targets helped me understand the plight of Israelis living like this, and it also made me want to work on peace. How Israel is often described on the news is not what I'd seen with my own eyes. And I felt Palestinian parents also preferred their children playing safely in their backyards. The missiles exploded just near enough to blow apart my world as I knew it, forever changing me. And you'd never recognize my life today with what it was like then. I believe I found my life's purpose. Hello, my name is Penny ST, and I'm the host of Peace with Penny. I'm excited to say that we're having the honor to speak with Israelis and Palestinians who work on peace together on our podcast, Peace with Penny. Folks willing to set aside their valid grievances, some who've even lost children to the conflict, and realize retaliation can't bring their loved ones back. Yet they move forward, working with one another to try and make their neighborhoods safe to live in. Even during war, when emotions are high, we know Israelis and Palestinians want peace. Peace is the only means to an acceptable future that makes sense, the only solution that can bring the violence to an end. The organizations we interview work hard every day to move closer to achieving peace at the grassroots level. I've worked in peace a decade. I recently heard of the term post-traumatic growth, that process of going through a traumatic situation and it changing your life positively. I think PTG describes what happened to me. Now, imagine being two warring peoples where both sides have grown up, where everyone has post-traumatic stress disorder or PTSD from the time they're innocent children living in a battle zone. Yet many of the people around them try to bury that fact in their daily existence, downplaying reality that they must have bomb shelters built in their homes, or not waiting for the recommended 10 minutes in the bomb shelter after Iron Dome destroys the missiles so they don't get bonked in the head with falling shrapnel from the sky. I've seen businessmen walk out of the bomb shelter after a couple minutes, but they have places to go and people to see. Trust me, I waited 10 minutes plus, just in case. I couldn't help but wonder what reality did the men live in, ignoring the warnings. Perhaps they've convinced themselves that nothing can happen to them. And I wonder what else they have ignored to the risk of their own safety and perhaps others. Are their brains trying to protect them psychologically, convincing them not to worry so they don't deal with the realization that their lives are always in danger? What other less than optimal solutions do they follow without realizing the ineffective consequences of their actions? And the Palestinians don't even have bomb shelters to hide in. In Gaza, Hamas has built miles of tunnels, underground hospitals, schools, and mosques, not to save civilians, but to use to transit and shoot their missiles, store weapons, protect themselves, and hide hostages. Meanwhile, above ground, they use their people callously as human shields. The death toll in the Israel-Hamas war is staggering and unrelenting. These are not numbers, these are humans. One is too many children whose lives have been horrifically cut short or uprooted searching for safety. Our parents didn't let us pummel our siblings when we disagreed. Why are nations allowed to? When hate is reinforced, the story will end miserably. Anyway, we're glad that you decided to join us. The greatest disservice that media has done is by only showing the horrific scenes of death and destruction, which has convinced the entire world there never will be peace in the Middle East. At Peace with Penny, we're happy to share with you the more than 100 interviews we've accumulated in our library, positive stories of peace organizations, for the most part, made up of Israelis and Palestinians working together on peace as a team. These pockets of peace are hopeful. Peace with Penny is the platform to bring them into your homes, and we thank you for listening. These NGOs approach peace from many different angles: medicine, the environment, music, art, communication, education, academia, women's rights, sports, language, health and interfaith dialogue, even using cartoons, sometimes concentrating on specific communities and for all ages, adults or kids, with education in schools and in summer camps, trying to reach everyone, including the younger generation who will be tasked with trying to solve this mess. Our interview library is filled with peace organizations we've spoken with. It is a strange time to be talking about peace, you might think. We wondered what we should do too. How to continue a peace podcast when the parties are at war with each other. The peace organizations gave us the answer. They said it's more important now than ever for people to know that Israelis and Palestinians can live together in peace, regardless of what their leaders are pushing. The politicians don't seem to feel the obligation to put the safety of their people as the top priority. How does the world allow this to be acceptable? Heartbreakingly, it's not the first time. And next, let's turn to our wonderful peace organizations we've spoken with and let the world know that most Israelis and Palestinians do want peace, but they don't make the news. We'll speak with the peace organizations about their impactful work, what they experienced on or just after October 7th, and what they are able to do now. We are going to start with an organization that is a success story of peace called the Path of Hope and Peace. We'll be speaking with Phil Saunders. We first spoke with Phil in January of 2022, and we wanted to get an update of their work in September 2023 with some additional feedback from October 7th, conditions afterwards, and currently. Path of Hope and Peace began in 2014 as a connection between peacemakers in the Israeli town of Tzur Hadassah and the Palestinian town of Husan. In Israel and the West Bank, communities are often divided along ethnic and religious lines. We'll learn how Path of Hope and Peace has transformed the town of Husan from a center of violence into a model of peace and cooperation. Since the beginning, they've added other Palestinian and Israeli towns and have become a model embraced as a working prototype for conflict transformation, which today is known as the Husan, Beitar Illit, and Tzur Hadassah model. In 2021, Path of Hope and Peace was awarded the Victor J. Goldberg Prize for Peace in the Middle East. What we think will be terrific for you to learn about is how they've turned a town like Husan, at one time known for promoting terrorist attacks against Israelis, into a town of peace, and how these Palestinian and Israeli towns work together for economic benefits, and when attacks occur, they're able to maintain the peace they have worked so hard to achieve. So let's begin. Welcome, Phil.
Thank you, Penny. It's great to be back.
Yeah, great to have you back. So first, I wanted to play two short clips to show what can happen even in more violent times, like in May 2021, during another time of expanded violence. And then we'll look at how it looks today, even with all the violence happening this year.
Hello everyone. Here we are at the entrance to the town of Husan, a Palestinian town in the West Bank. And as we walk in, we can see that there's a red sign that warns Israelis that entrance to this Palestinian village could be dangerous for Israeli citizens. But the reality is that sign is out of date because a change has happened in this town. Over the course of years, from having been dangerous for Israelis in the intifadas, This is now a town where the signs are written in Hebrew. This is the puncturia, where you get your car punctures fixed. And if we look, we see Hebrew on almost all of the signs here because their livelihoods depend upon Israelis coming in and buying things. And now, if we look at these signs over here, the sign in black, white and yellow there, that says Shtifat Shalom. That's the car wash of peace. And underneath it, in white, this is written Kiosk Shalom. It's the kiosk of peace, where Israelis can come and buy everything cheaply, whatever they might need. And this is how we have it in Husan now for many years. And we've built a robust coexistence that can even stand difficult periods such as what we've just gone through, where fires were burning all over the land. Here we were working together as a team to keep the peace and the coexistence going. And that's what we're seeing today here at the end of May 2021. And by keeping the peace, we were able to get straight back to normality after the war. This was the first group to come and visit us already at the end of May, a mixed group of Jewish and Arab Israelis that came to visit the beautiful natural springs in the town of Husan. And this is just the latest in many trips that we've been having to the town of Husan in recent months. Yachad is the Hebrew word for together, and in our neighborhood, Israelis and Palestinians work together to build coexistence, both at difficult times when we need to stand together in solidarity, and at happier times when we can work together and learn new skills together and build peace for the benefit of generations to come.
Now we'll play a much more recent video just so you can see that even after this last, what's it been, about a year and a half of ugliness, far too much violence.
18th of September 2023. I'm back at the entrance of Husan. Signs written in Hebrew. And walking into the town. This is written on the army post. Shalom is written there. We'll do Shalom. Shalom. This is the kiosk to the entrance with our friends, and this is where Israelis come to buy things, and everything is continuing in our area because we maintain things. As you can see, lots and lots of yellow number plates coming in, Israeli number plates, but also white number plates, Palestinians. That's what coexistence looks like.
We had pre-recorded our interview toward the end of September, which was slated for broadcast October 10th. But then, shortly after, the barbarous terror attacks were executed on October 7th. We spoke to Phil on October 10th and asked him how he, his wife, and teenage daughter are doing as they spend their time in their bomb shelter safe room. And I also asked him what he wanted to do about the interview. Here's what Phil said.
Hi Penny, we're now 3 days into this horror and it's just getting worse and worse, and all the indications are that we're still just at the beginning. And from a personal point of view, I can honestly say that these 3 days have been the most shocking and distressing and frightening 3 days of my entire 18 years of living here. Day one, we were blasted from complacency. I woke at 7 in the morning to the sound of thuds in the distance, followed by rocket sirens that began in our area at 8:15, and we scuttled down to our reinforced room, me, my wife and teenage daughter, and ended up spending the whole morning there because there were so many rocket sirens, more that morning than I had heard in my entire 18 years up till that point. And while sheltering there, I was exchanging lots of messages with my peacemaker partners, including Palestinian friends living in the neighbouring villages who'd had rockets fall in their villages, and we were all expressing solidarity and mutual support because we very much felt that we were in this together. And by comparison, day 2 was eerily calm, and I decided to leave the house for the first time and went around Tzur Hadassah, my town, and into Ziad's town, Husan, and everything was eerily quiet. It was like the eye of the storm, and that was the day that the full truth descended upon us, that what had happened the previous day was Israel's 9/11, where Hamas flooded into Israeli communities, killing and kidnapping at will, with apparently Israeli security forces nowhere in sight for hours. And as the second day proceeded, the death toll just rose and rose from double figures into triple figures, and was approaching 1,000 by the end of the day, leaving us reeling in shock and horror and fear of what might be to come. And then on day 3, Israel's response began in full force, and now the Palestinian death toll is also rising and rising, and we are all suffering terribly. And I had to think whether it was appropriate to release our interview at such a horrifically dark time. But then I thought maybe its message is needed now more than ever, because we have to show that there is another way, that instead of fighting each other, we can live together. And that's what we've been doing now for many years in this part of the land, and we are standing strong together because we are not willing to let violence and extremism drive a wedge between Israelis and Palestinians in this neighbourhood. And so I believe our interview can be a vital message of hope at this terrible time.
Phil also showed us how the situation hadn't changed, thankfully, a couple weeks after October 7th, and it was still quiet in Husan on October 21st.
21st of October 2023, and everything's still quiet here at the entrance of Husan. אתם רוצים להגיד משהו? You want to say something, Mark?
Shalom, Shabbat Shalom.
Phil showed us on January 24th, 2024, how it was still calm.
24th of January 2024, at the entrance of Husan. Very rainy day, but the rain stopped now for a bit, and here we are. Things are quiet. This has been a very long war, and we have no idea when it's going to finish, but here we're still keeping the peace. מה שלומך זיאד? Okay, מה קורה? Hi Penny, this is Phil. This is your update on the situation at the end of January 2024 in our zone of coexistence. It has been an extremely long war, still with no end in sight, and we've all had to do a lot of adjusting to the reality. One of the first things the army did at the start of the war was to close the gate at the entrance of Husan to block off entrance for Israelis to the towns of Husan and Nakhalin and Batir on the other side of that gate. But there is one small Palestinian village named Wadi Fukin, which ended up on the Israeli side, and they normally do their shopping in Husan as well. So, ever since then, we've had a situation where instead of doing our shopping inside Husan, we all come up to the gate of Husan and purchase things at the gate under the watchful eyes of the soldiers there. And the soldiers keep changing. Every 45 days we get a new complement of soldiers, and every time I need to speak to them and explain to them that they are not in Gaza or some other hostile place, and that we have coexistence here and we want to keep it that way. And most of the soldiers are receptive to that, but not all. And there was one case very early on the 15th of October when I got a call from my friends at the entrance of Husan, and they said that there's a soldier who's been threatening them. So I went there, and they told me which one he was, and I spoke to him, and I said, "Listen, we're trying to keep the peace here, and that's what you want to do as well. So let's work together." And he said, "Well, that's not why I'm here, though." And I said, "So why are you here?" He said, "I'm here for victory." And I said, "Well, if you want victory, go to Gaza. There's a war there, but there isn't a war here, and we don't want anyone bringing it." And I then raised my voice and asked, "Who's in charge here?" Because there were three soldiers there, and one of them said, "I am." And I spoke to him, and I told him what that soldier had said to me, and that we don't need a soldier with that kind of mentality in our area. And half an hour later, a jeep came and took that soldier away, and we never saw him again.
Finally, Phil showed us.
Hi Penny, a short update on the 19th of February 2024, and a positive one. Throughout this war, the soldiers who've been manning the entrance of the town of Husan have kept changing every 45 days, which means that just as we get to know them and build a working relationship with them based on them understanding the positive relations we've built between Israelis and Palestinians in this area, then they move off and we have to start all over again with a new complement of soldiers. And once again, 2 weeks ago, the soldiers were rotated, but this time, instead of a new batch of reserve soldiers, these soldiers are now professionals and are apparently going to stay. And so that gives us an opportunity to build a long-lasting working relationship with them. And 3 days ago, I met the officer in charge of this new complement of soldiers and had a 30-minute meeting with him. And he listened intently to everything we've built here. And he said he was totally on board with it, and he really wants us to work together to maintain it and strengthen it. And there are even possibilities now that maybe the gate will be opened from time to time, because up till now we can only do the trade at the entrance next to the gate. But for example, if Israelis want their cars to be washed or fixed in Husan, you can't drive them in to the town. Whereas if we can drive them up to the gate and then the gate will be opened at certain hours, then the Palestinian mechanics can drive them in and do the work in their garages, as opposed to bringing all of the tools to the entrance and working on them there next to the gate. So we're hoping there will be some improvements going forward. So I will keep you posted.
Thanks so much, Phil, for the update on what's happened since our last interview with you on October 10th. Path of Hope and Peace is truly a light in our lives, and your work is very much appreciated and is a glowing accomplishment that we hope will be duplicated throughout the region. So that ends our discussion. I want to reiterate, killing of all types to me is anathema, but I do understand where Israel is coming from given their horrific slaughter of their citizens. I hope that Israel will continue to do everything they can to avoid harming any Gazan civilians, but I also realize that may not be possible as Hamas forces them to stay put, using them as human shields. I also want to say that what's happening throughout the world, the US, and in our communities with the extreme anti Semitism and anti Israel discourse is dangerous. I hope we will soon hear from more friends that they too support the rights of Jews to live safely in the United States. If you would like to donate to Peace with Penny or help in any way, please contact Peace with Penny at penny, the letter S, TEE.com. Or if you would like to contribute to any of these fantastic peace organizations, they all have websites where you can help support them. You will be able to find their full interviews on the Peace with Penny YouTube channel or at www.penny, the letter S, TEE.com. During these difficult times, I'm sure they would especially appreciate your help. Any questions, contact me. The entire world seems to be hurting, whether from war, hunger, disease, or just life. There is too much stress for everyone. Psychologically, the suffering seems endless. And so I'll play for you Michael Hunter Oakes' A Song for Healing, Refuah Shlema, in the hopes that it will provide some comfort, as only music can.
Do you ever feel so fragile, like a sparrow against the wind, like the world is on your shoulders, like a stranger in your skin? Healing of the body and a healing of the heart, healing of the spirit and the broken parts, healing of the body, grant us healing of the soul, healing of the spirit, may we soon be whole. Refuah, 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 shlema, refuah, 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 shlema. When the world is dark and troubled, when the shadows conceal the sun, and when neighbors become strangers, then from where will our help come? Healing of the body and a healing of the heart, healing of the spirit and the broken parts, healing of the body, grant us healing of the soul, healing of the spirit, may we soon be whole. Refuah, 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 shlema, refuah, 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 shlema, refuah,
from sea to shining sea. May we be the change that we want to see. Healing of the ocean, the rivers and the streams, the mountain and the valley and the air we breathe.
refuah, shlema.
Thanks, and we hope you enjoyed learning about these incredible organizations. We pray that the wars currently waging will end soon and that children everywhere will again enjoy a childhood full of love, play, and safety. Amen. May you live in peace, shalom, and salam.